The village of Leora lay on the edge of the great river Alara. It was a quiet place where the sun shone warmly on the fields, and the villagers tended to their crops and animals. Life moved slowly, and many of the villagers had never left the village. But one young man, Aaron, always dreamed of more. He loved reading old stories, studying maps, and imagining the adventures of kings and explorers long past. One morning, Aaron walked through the village market. The air smelled of fresh bread, herbs, and the river nearby. He stopped at a small stall where an old merchant sold books and scrolls. The merchant's hands were worn, and his eyes twinkled with curiosity. "Ah, young Aaron," he said, "I have something special today, something very old, something that speaks of kings who vanished beneath the waters." Aaron's eyes widened. "Show me," he said. The merchant carefully opened a worn leather manuscript. The pages were yellowed and cracked, filled with strange symbols and faded drawings. At the center, there was a map of a river that Aaron recognized. It was the river Alara, but drawn differently, with marks showing hidden paths, islands, and secret chambers beneath the water. At the bottom, a single line caught his eye: "The sunken tomb of the lost kings awaits those who dare." Aaron could hardly breathe. He had read many stories of lost tombs, but he never imagined one might exist near his village. He turned to the merchant. "Where did this come from?" he asked. "From a traveler long ago," the merchant replied. He said the tomb held treasures, knowledge, and secrets of the kings who ruled before the river was named. Many have tried to find it. None have returned with proof. Some say it is protected by the river itself. Aaron's heart raced. He could feel adventure calling him. He bought the manuscript without hesitation and ran to the village square to find his best friend, Mira. Mira was a skilled cartographer who could read maps better than anyone Aaron knew. She had sharp eyes, steady hands, and a curious mind that matched his own. He found her at her small table, spreading out a new map of the nearby hills. "Mira, look at this," he said, almost shouting with excitement. Mira leaned over and looked at the manuscript. Her brow furrowed as she examined the markings. "This is incredible," she said. "If this map is real, the tomb could be beneath the river. But it is dangerous. The river is wide, and the waters change every season. We would need boats, ropes, and careful planning." "I know," Aaron replied. "But imagine what we could discover. History that no one has seen for centuries. The knowledge of kings, treasures, and lost cities. We have to try." Mira hesitated, then smiled. "I suppose danger has a way of finding those who seek adventure. Very well, we will prepare. But we must be careful. One mistake and we could lose more than treasure." The two friends spent the next days gathering supplies. They spoke with fishermen and boat makers, asking about the river's currents, hidden rocks, and unusual tides. They studied old texts in the village library, learning about the ancient dynasty that had ruled long before the village existed. They discovered that the dynasty was known for wisdom, bravery, and protection of its secrets. Only the most clever and determined could hope to uncover them. At night, Aaron would sit by the river, watching the water shimmer under the moonlight. He imagined the tomb lying beneath the flowing current, its walls carved with golden murals, and chambers filled with artifacts. He imagined the kings themselves, resting quietly in their sunken palace, waiting for someone brave enough to find them. Mira joined him one evening, carrying a lantern. "You really believe it exists?" she said quietly. "I have to," Aaron replied. "Even if it is just a story, the map is real. And even if the kings are gone, the tomb is still there. I can feel it calling us." Mira nodded, understanding that there was no stopping him once his mind was set. "Then we will face it together. No one else. Just us. We will prepare, plan, and see what the river hides." The villagers noticed the change in Aaron and Mira. They whispered about the young scholar and the cartographer who dreamed of the lost tomb. Some thought it foolish, others were curious, but Aaron and Mira did not care. Their hearts were set on discovery, and no warning could turn them back. As the sun rose over Leora, Aaron opened the manuscript once more. He traced the river's course. With his finger, imagining the hidden paths beneath the surface. He could see small islands marked with symbols, caves under cliffs, and the place where the water turned dark and still. That was where the tomb must lie. This is the beginning, he said to Mira. Once we reach the river, we will see if the legends are true. The sunken tomb of the lost kings is waiting, and we will be the first to find it in centuries. Mira smiled, her eyes reflecting the sunlight on the water. Then we must rest tonight. Tomorrow, the adventure begins. As the night settled over the village, the river Alara flowed silently, holding the secrets of kings long gone. Somewhere beneath its surface, the tomb waited, patient and still, and soon, to friends with courage, curiosity, and a map would awaken the legend once more. The next morning, Aaron and Mira set out on their journey toward the lost River of Kings. The village of Leora was still quiet as the sun rose, painting the fields with gold. Birds sang from the trees, and the soft sound of water from the river followed them as they walked. Aaron carried the manuscript carefully in his satchel, while Mira held her maps and instruments. Both were filled with excitement and a little nervousness, knowing that the adventure ahead would test them. Their path led them through dense forests. Tall trees shaded their way, and vines hung like curtains from the branches. Aaron marveled at the forest, noticing plants and flowers he had never seen before. Mira examined the map and compared it with the land around them. She pointed to symbols drawn on the manuscript and whispered, "Look, these marks match the shapes of these hills and streams. We are on the right path." As they moved deeper into the forest, the ground became uneven. Rocks jutted out, roots tangled across the path, and small streams crossed their way. The air smelled fresh, but there was a sense of mystery that made both of them alert. They often paused to listen to distant sounds, birds calling, water trickling, and sometimes the strange echo of a hollow tree. After several hours, they reached a narrow valley. The walls of the valley were steep, and the path seemed dangerous. Mira carefully climbed ahead, checking the rocks for loose stones. Aaron followed, helping her when the path became tricky. At one point, a sudden landslide shook the valley. Small rocks tumbled down, forcing them to duck behind larger boulders. The danger reminded them that the journey was not only about discovery, but also about surviving the wild dot. Once the valley ended, they entered an open plain. The sun shone brightly, and the river was still far away, glimmering faintly on the horizon. Aaron took out the manuscript again, tracing the river's course. "We are close," he said. "Tomorrow, we should reach the first bend. That is where the old ruins are marked." That night, they camped under a large tree. Mira built a small fire, and Aaron examined the manuscript by its light. They spoke quietly about the history of the lost dynasty. Aaron read aloud from the pages, telling stories of brave kings, clever queens, and wise scholars. Mira listened with fascination, imagining the tomb hidden beneath the water. "We are lucky to have this map," Mira said, "but I wonder why it survived so long. Why did the king's secrets remain hidden for centuries?" Aaron thought for a moment. Maybe the river itself protected it, or maybe only those who are ready and brave can find it. We must be careful and smart. The next morning, they resumed their journey. The landscape changed as they moved closer to the river. Trees became fewer, and large boulders and cliffs appeared. Aaron spotted carvings on some rocks, ancient symbols that matched those in the manuscript. Mira carefully copied them onto her map. "These carvings tell a story," she said. "They speak of kings who ruled wisely and protected their tomb from intruders." As the day went on, they discovered the ruins of a small settlement. Broken walls, fallen statues, and faded murals showed that people had lived here long ago. Aaron examined the murals closely. They depicted boats floating on a river, people carrying treasures, and what appeared to be a large tomb under the water. "This confirms it," he said. "The tomb must be near. The legends are true." Mira studied the river from a distance. "It is wide and strong," she said. "We will need careful planning to cross it safely, and there may be hidden currents and obstacles beneath the surface." They decided to set up camp near the ruins for the night. The air was cooler here, and the sound of the river was louder. Aaron felt a mix of excitement and caution. He could almost see the tomb under the water, waiting for them to find it. During the night, they heard strange noises coming from the forest. Animals moving through the underbrush, the rush of water, and the wind in the cliffs kept them alert. Aaron checked the manuscript again, following the path marked with symbols of the river and caves. He felt a sense of connection to the kings, who had once ruled this land, as if they were guiding him. The next morning, Aaron and Mira crossed a small stream using a fallen tree as a bridge. Mira balanced carefully while Aaron supported her. Once across, they climbed a low hill to get a better view of the river. From there, the lost River of Kings appeared in its full glory. Its waters were wide and calm in some places, dark and fast in others. Small islands rose above the surface, marked with trees and rocks. The river seemed beautiful and dangerous at the same time. "We are close," Mira said. "The manuscript shows a hidden entrance near that bend. Look at the rocks there. They match the symbols." Aaron nodded. His heart raced. "Tomorrow, we begin exploring the river itself. We will follow the map and see where it leads. The sunken tomb is near. I can feel it." That evening, they prepared their supplies for the river. They packed ropes, lanterns, and small tools. Mira checked her instruments, making sure she could measure depths and currents. Aaron examined the manuscript one last time, memorizing the symbols and paths. They slept with the sound of the river in their ears, dreaming of golden chambers, murals of kings, and hidden treasures beneath the waters. The journey to the river had been challenging, but Aaron and Mira felt ready. They had faced the forest, landslides, and ancient ruins, and now the river itself awaited. The lost River of Kings held secrets from centuries ago, and soon they would see if they were brave and clever enough to uncover them. As the moon rose over the hills, the river shimmered quietly. Somewhere beneath its surface, the tomb remained, waiting for the two friends who dared to follow its legend. Aaron and Mira were no longer just villagers. They were adventurers on the brink of history. The morning sun rose over the hills, casting light on the lost River of Kings. Its waters gleamed like silver, reflecting the green forests and rocky cliffs along the banks. Aaron and Mira stood at the edge of the river, gazing at its wide surface. The river seemed calm, but both knew from their study of the manuscript that it could be dangerous. Currents shifted, rocks hid beneath the water, and sudden drops could catch even the most careful traveler off guard. "We must be careful," Mira said, pointing to the map. "The hidden entrance is near the bend marked with the symbols. But the river does not give up its secrets easily. We need to watch the water, the rocks, and the currents." Aaron nodded. He could feel excitement and nervousness at the same time. "We have prepared well," he said. "We know the signs. We have ropes and lanterns, and we will move slowly. Today, the river will show us its secret." They began their journey along the riverbank, searching for any sign of the hidden entrance. The river was wide, and the water rushed over smooth stones, creating small waves that splashed against the shore. Small birds flew low over the water, and fish occasionally leapt above the surface. The sounds of the river were peaceful, but the travelers knew danger could appear at any moment. After a few hours of walking, they reached the bend shown on the manuscript. The water here was darker, moving more swiftly than before. Rocks jutted out from the riverbed, creating small whirlpools and currents that twisted in unusual ways. Aaron examined the symbols on the manuscript and compared them with the rocks along the shore. One large stone matched a drawing exactly, a flat, round boulder with marks carved long ago. "This is it," Aaron said. "The entrance must be nearby. The king's tomb will be beneath this river." Mira carefully inspected the area. "Look at these small markings," she said, pointing to symbols carved into the stone. "They match the manuscript perfectly. They might be directions or warnings left by the dynasty to protect the tomb." Aaron traced the carvings with his fingers. "They speak of courage, patience, and careful observation. Whoever finds the tomb must respect the river and the kings who rest beneath it." The friends decided to explore the river more closely. They found a small boat left by fishermen long ago, tied to a post. It was old, but sturdy. Mira helped Aaron lift it onto the shore, and they tested the oars to make sure it would float. Carefully, They pushed the boat into the water and stepped inside. The river was colder than they expected. The current tugged gently at the boat, and the water shimmered beneath them as they rowed toward the center of the bend. They noticed unusual patterns. In the water, some areas were darker, as if hiding holes or caves beneath the surface. Aaron and Mira leaned over, trying to see what lay beneath. "There is something under the water," Mira said quietly. "Look at that shadow near the large stone." "It could be the entrance to the tomb," Aaron nodded, his heart beating faster. "We need to move carefully. The manuscript shows a hidden path beneath the river. We must follow it without rushing." They tied the boat near the large boulder and prepared their ropes and lanterns. Mira tied a rope around her waist, and Aaron did the same. They planned to dive beneath the river carefully, following the directions of the manuscript and the symbols on the rocks. The water was cold as they submerged. Aaron held the lantern above his head, watching the light ripple through the dark water. The current pushed gently, but the shadows of the rocks created a maze beneath the surface. They swam slowly, tracing the marks that matched the symbols in the manuscript. After several tense minutes, they discovered a small opening under a stone arch. The water here was calmer, and the entrance was hidden by a natural curtain of hanging vines and rocks. Aaron and Mira exchanged a glance. "This must be it," Aaron whispered. "The tomb's entrance is right here." They carefully moved through the opening, entering a narrow underwater tunnel. The current shifted around them, but the tunnel was wide enough to swim safely. Small carvings on the walls guided them, showing kings and symbols of protection. Mira copied them in her mind, while Aaron traced the shapes on the walls with his fingers, feeling the cold, smooth stone. Finally, they reached a shallow chamber beneath the river. The water here was calm, and the ceiling allowed them to breathe easily once they surfaced. The chamber walls were decorated with murals of kings and queens, their faces serene and proud. There were images of boats, treasures, and strange symbols showing the history of the lost dynasty. "This is incredible," Mira said. "The king's tomb is not just a place of treasure. It tells a story. Their history, their wisdom, and their protection of secrets are all preserved here." Aaron nodded. He felt a sense of awe and respect. "We are the first to see this in centuries. We must honor it and be careful. The river has been patient, waiting for someone worthy to discover it." They explored the chamber slowly, examining the carvings and symbols. Aaron noticed a small pool of water in the center, its surface smooth and reflective. The manuscript had mentioned a sacred pool near the tomb, a place of testing for those who entered. They approached it cautiously, remembering that the king's tomb was protected by both water and wisdom. As they rested, Aaron looked around the chamber. He realized that the journey was only beginning. The tomb had secrets deeper than the river, hidden rooms and treasures that required patience, courage, and intelligence. Mira agreed, feeling a mix of excitement and responsibility. After some time, they decided to return to the surface. The river had allowed them entry, showing its secret, but they knew the challenges ahead would be greater. As they swam back through the tunnel and emerged from the water, they felt a sense of accomplishment. They had discovered the first hidden part of the tomb, seen the king's murals, and confirmed that the legends were true. On the riverbank, they sat and rested, drying their clothes and preparing for the next day. Aaron traced the river with his finger, imagining the paths beneath the surface and the rooms waiting to be explored. Mira carefully noted the symbols and the shape of the entrance, planning how they would continue safely. The sun began to set, casting golden light on the river. The lost river of kings shimmered quietly, hiding the tomb beneath its waters. Aaron and Mira felt a deep connection to the history of the dynasty, knowing that their journey was only beginning. They were no longer just travelers. They were explorers of a forgotten past, and the river had shared its secret with those who were brave enough to follow it. As night fell, the forest around them was calm, and the stars reflected on the river's surface. The tomb waited silently, holding its treasures and history. Ready for the next part of the adventure, Aaron and Mira, tired but filled with hope, knew that tomorrow they would begin the deeper exploration of the sunken tomb of the lost kings. The morning sun glimmered over the lost river of kings, and the forest around the riverbank seemed alive with birdsong. Aaron and Mira were ready to continue their adventure. The small boat was secured, ropes were checked, and lanterns were packed. Today, they would enter the hidden passage beneath the river and explore the deeper parts of the tomb. Both felt excitement and a quiet tension because the path ahead was unknown. "We must be very careful," Mira said, adjusting her rope. "The manuscript shows that the passage is narrow, and the river can be tricky. One mistake, and we could get trapped." Aaron nodded. "We have come this far. We will move slowly, follow the symbols, and pay attention to the water. We will reach the tomb safely." They pushed the boat into the water and rowed carefully to the hidden entrance. Beneath the large stone arch, the current was gentle at first, but as they approached the opening, it became stronger. Aaron steadied the boat while Mira prepared the ropes. They tied themselves securely before entering the passage. The water was cool as they submerged, and the underwater tunnel was darker than expected. Their lanterns illuminated the stone walls, revealing carvings of kings, queens, and strange symbols that seemed to guide the way. Mira followed the symbols carefully. Comparing them to the manuscript, "The passage is narrow here," she whispered. "We must swim in a single line. Follow me closely." Aaron nodded and moved behind her. The current tugged gently, but they advanced carefully, hand over hand along the walls. Small rocks and plant growth made the tunnel uneven, but the carvings reassured them that they were on the right path. After several tense minutes, the tunnel opened into a wider chamber beneath the river. The water was calmer here, and the ceiling allowed them to breathe freely. Aaron and Mira surfaced carefully, amazed by what they saw. The chamber walls were covered with murals, showing the history of the lost dynasty. Kings and queens stood proudly, surrounded by symbols of wisdom, courage, and protection. Boats carried treasures, and people prepared ceremonies in honor of the rulers. "This is incredible," Aaron said, his voice full of wonder. "The kings wanted to leave their story for those brave enough to find it. We are seeing something no one has seen in centuries." Mira nodded. "We must document everything carefully. The murals, the symbols, the layout of the chamber. This is more than treasure, it is history." As they moved through the chamber, Aaron noticed a small doorway partially hidden by a stone pillar. The manuscript mentioned a secret room where the tomb's most important treasures were kept. The doorway was narrow and dark, but the symbols above it matched those in the manuscript perfectly. "This must be it," Aaron said. "The secret room. The king's most important chamber." They tied themselves together with a rope for safety and carefully entered the hidden room. The air was damp and smelled faintly of ancient stone. The walls were carved with smaller murals showing kings holding scrolls and artifacts. There were shells carved into the stone, some holding objects covered in silt and water damage. Mira examined the carvings. "These objects are not just treasure. They are records of knowledge, tools, and items used by the kings. They show how the dynasty lived, worked, and protected its secrets." Aaron carefully lifted one of the objects, a small stone tablet, and brushed away the dirt. The symbols on it matched some in the manuscript. "This is incredible," he said. "The kings preserved knowledge that has survived centuries under the river. We have to study these carefully." As they explored the room, they noticed the water level rising slightly. The river above them was not completely calm. Aaron realized that the hidden passage was connected to the current, and sudden shifts in water could make the chamber dangerous. "We must be careful," Aaron warned. "The river protects the tomb. It will not allow careless intruders to take its secrets." Mira agreed. "We will only take notes and document. We will not disturb the objects more than necessary. Respect is the key." They spent hours moving through the chamber, examining carvings, symbols, and objects. Each discovery made them more aware of the king's wisdom and foresight. The dynasty had designed the tomb to protect knowledge, treasures, and history. Every corner of the hidden passage, every mural, and every symbol was a test for those who sought the tomb. At one point, they reached another smaller passage leading deeper into the tomb. The manuscript showed that this path led to the central chamber, where the king's coffins rested. The passage was even narrower and darker than before. Aaron and Mira held their lanterns high and tied themselves together with a rope for safety. The tunnel twisted and turned, with occasional drops of water falling from the ceiling. The carvings along the walls grew more intricate, showing scenes of kings blessing their people, scholars writing scrolls, and guardians protecting the tomb. Aaron traced the symbols with his fingers, feeling a connection to the past. This is like walking through history, Mira whispered. Every carving tells a story. Every symbol is a warning or guidance. The kings prepared this for those who were brave, clever, and respectful. Finally, they reached a large stone door at the end of the passage. The symbols on the door were the most detailed they had seen. Aaron and Mira studied them carefully. The manuscript had hinted that this door led to the Chamber of Kings. It is time, Aaron said quietly. Behind this door, the tomb will reveal its greatest secrets. Mira nodded, steadying the rope around her waist. Together, they pushed. The door opened. The stone moved slowly, revealing darkness beyond. The air smelled faintly of ancient stone and water. Their lanterns lit the way, showing walls covered with gold and carvings of kings seated on thrones. Aaron and Mira stepped forward carefully, their hearts racing. The hidden passage had led them safely here, but they knew the challenges ahead would be greater. The river had allowed them entry, but the tomb itself held the true test. As they looked around the chamber, they realized that the adventure was far from over. The king's tomb was not just a room of treasure. It was a place of history, knowledge, and lessons for those who could appreciate them. Aaron and Mira felt a deep respect for the dynasty, understanding that their journey was more than an exploration. It was a connection to the past. They paused to rest, planning the next steps carefully. The hidden passage had brought them here, but now they needed strategy, patience, and courage to uncover the full secrets of the sunken tomb of the lost kings. As the river flowed silently above, the tomb awaited, filled with wonders, lessons, and treasures from centuries ago. Aaron and Mira were ready to face whatever challenges came next, knowing that their bravery and respect for history would guide them forward. Aaron and Mira stepped carefully into the grand chamber beyond the stone door. The room was vast, larger than anything they had imagined. Light from their lanterns reflected off golden ornaments, intricate murals, and stone effigies of kings seated on thrones. The air was cool and damp, carrying the faint scent of ancient stone and water. Every step echoed softly, reminding them how alone they were in this forgotten place. "This is incredible," Mira whispered, her eyes wide. The kings preserved everything perfectly. Look at the murals. Each one tells a story of a ruler, their people, and the rivers that sustained them. Aaron moved slowly across the chamber, examining artifacts carefully. Golden vessels, carved wooden boxes, and stone tablets were arranged as if left yesterday. Some objects were covered in dust and silt from centuries of submersion. He picked up a small tablet, brushing away dirt to reveal symbols identical to those in the manuscript. "These must be records of the dynasty," he said. "They kept their knowledge and wisdom safe under the river." Mira walked toward a large mural depicting a king holding a scroll. Around him were people presenting offerings, scholars writing on parchment, and guards standing watch. "This shows their dedication to learning and protection," she said. They wanted history preserved, not just treasure hidden. As they explored, Aaron noticed a narrow passage at the far end of the chamber. The manuscript hinted at secret compartments within the tomb. He motioned to Mira, and together they approached. Carvings on the walls guided them like a map. Carefully, they pushed aside a stone panel, revealing a small room filled with scrolls and golden artifacts. "This must be where they kept their most important treasures," Aaron said. "Not just gold or jewelry, but items of knowledge and power." Mira examined a set of scrolls, carefully unrolling them. They contained records of trade, laws, and events from centuries ago. Some described journeys along the river, battles won without violence, and clever strategies to protect the kingdom. "This is history," she said softly, "real history, preserved by the kings for those who are worthy." Suddenly, a sound echoed through the chamber. Water shifted from the river above, sending ripples through the floor. Aaron realized the protective mechanisms described in the manuscript were active. The river seemed alive, testing those who entered the tomb. "We must move carefully," Aaron said. "The tomb protects itself. It will not allow us to take anything." Without understanding the rules, they continued exploring, discovering niches carved into the walls holding statues, ceremonial objects, and symbolic artifacts. Each object reflected the values of the king's wisdom, courage, and patience. Aaron and Mira took notes, making sure to document every discovery without disturbing the items more than necessary. As they moved to the center of the chamber, they saw a raised platform with 3 stone thrones. Golden light shimmered on them. Murals behind the thrones, showing the most revered kings of the dynasty. At the base of the platform, a small pool reflected the lantern light. The manuscript had mentioned a sacred pool, a place for reflection and respect. "This must be the heart of the tomb," Mira whispered. "The kings honored knowledge, wisdom, and respect. They left lessons for those who would come after." Aaron knelt by the pool, studying the carvings along the edge. Symbols warned against greed and impatience, emphasizing careful observation and respect for the river. "The tomb is not just about treasure," he said. "It is about understanding history and learning from it." Mira pointed to another mural, showing kings seated with scholars, reading scrolls, and observing the river. "They wanted to guide those who followed," she said. "Anyone who is here must respect their wisdom, not just seek gold, ours." Passed as they explored the chamber, documenting carvings, symbols, and artifacts. Each discovery deepened their respect for the dynasty. Aaron realized that the tomb was a lesson in itself, a reminder that knowledge, courage, and patience were treasures more valuable than gold. As they prepared to leave, Aaron noticed another passage partially hidden behind a large statue. The manuscript hinted at further chambers, perhaps holding even greater secrets. He signaled Mira, and together they examined the entrance. The water in the chamber had risen slightly, a gentle reminder that the river was alive above them. "We must be careful," Aaron said. "The next chamber may hold more treasures, but it may also be more dangerous." Mira nodded. "We are ready. The river has guided us this far. With respect and patience, we can continue." They tied themselves with ropes and entered the hidden passage. The walls were carved with intricate patterns, showing kings guiding their people, scholars studying, and guardians protecting the tomb. Aaron traced the carvings with his fingers, feeling the connection to the past grow stronger. Finally, they reached a small room within the tomb. The walls were lined with shelves holding scrolls, small statues, and golden objects. The air was thick with history, almost as if the kings themselves were watching. Aaron and Mira moved slowly, documenting each item carefully. "This room shows the king's greatest treasures," Mira said. "Not just gold, but knowledge, history, and lessons for those who are patient and brave." Aaron nodded. He felt a deep respect for the dynasty. They had created the tomb to preserve not just wealth, but wisdom. The river had protected it for centuries, allowing only those who were worthy to enter. As they rested for a moment, Aaron looked around the chamber. He realized that the journey was only halfway complete. There were more rooms to explore, more secrets to uncover, and more lessons from the kings to learn. The sunken tomb had revealed its heart, but it held deeper mysteries waiting to be discovered. With determination, they prepared to move deeper into the tomb. The Chamber of Kings had taught them patience, respect, and the importance of history. As the river flowed silently above, the tomb awaited, holding treasures, knowledge, and secrets that had remained hidden for centuries. Aaron and Mira knew that the next part of their journey would challenge them even more. The sunken tomb of the lost kings was alive with history and mystery, and they were ready to uncover its deepest secrets. Aaron and Mira had spent hours exploring the inner chambers of the sunken tomb of the lost kings. They had seen murals, golden artifacts, stone tablets, and intricate carvings that told stories of wisdom, courage, and leadership. The experience had been breathtaking, but as they prepared to leave the hidden room, Aaron noticed a faint change in the air. The water level in the chamber had risen slightly, and the sound of rushing water echoed louder. "Mira, the water is rising faster," he said, his voice calm but alert. "The river above us is moving. We need to leave carefully before it becomes dangerous. Mira nodded quickly. We must follow the same path we came in. The hidden passage will guide us back. Stay close and do not panic. They tied themselves together with a rope for safety. Aaron led the way, holding the lantern high, while Mira followed, keeping a steady grip on the rope. The water continued to rise slowly but steadily, and the current seemed stronger than before. The river above was testing them, reminding them that the tomb protected itself from careless intruders. As they entered the narrow tunnel, the walls felt slippery, small stones shifted beneath their hands, and water dripped from the ceiling. Adding to the challenge, Aaron and Mira moved carefully, taking one step at a time. Their hearts raced, but they focused on the carvings on the walls, which guided their way. The symbols seemed to glow in the lantern light, almost as if encouraging them to continue. Halfway through the passage, a sudden surge of water pushed against them. Aaron held the rope tightly, steadying Mira as they struggled against the current. "Keep moving," he shouted. "We cannot stop now." They swam forward, following the symbols carved into the walls. The tunnel twisted and turned, and the water became colder. Mira's hands ached from holding the rope, but she trusted Aaron's guidance. The river above seemed alive, testing their courage and determination. Finally, they reached the larger chamber near the entrance. The water was rising faster here, and small waves lapped against the stone walls. Aaron looked around, trying to find a safe exit. He spotted the opening under the stone arch where they had first entered. "There it is," he called. "We are almost out." Mira paddled beside him, her eyes fixed on the arch. The water pushed harder, and the current threatened to pull them away. They both took deep breaths and moved together, coordinating their strokes to fight the flow. The lanterns bobbed in the water, casting shadows on the walls, and the carvings seemed to watch them as they struggled to reach freedom. When they reached the arch, Aaron grabbed the edge of the stone, pulling Mira with him. They climbed carefully, using the ropes to steady themselves. The water lapped at their shoulders, and the current tried to pull them back, but they held on tightly. After several tense moments, they finally reached the surface of the river outside the hidden passage. Both of them gasped for air, their muscles aching from the struggle. The river flowed calmly above them now, as if it had tested their strength and determination and found them worthy. Aaron looked back at the stone arch, knowing that the tomb had protected its secrets once again. "We made it," Mira said, her voice filled with relief and excitement. "The river allowed us to see the tomb, but it reminded us to respect it. We cannot take more than we can carry safely." Aaron nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and pride. "We have seen the king's treasures, their history, and their wisdom. That is more valuable than gold. We must remember everything and document it carefully." They pulled their small boat closer and climbed inside, resting for a moment. The river flowed gently, carrying them downstream. The sun was beginning to set, casting golden light on the water and the cliffs. Aaron and Mira felt a deep connection to the tomb and the kings who had created it. Their journey had been dangerous, but it had taught them courage, patience, and respect for history. As they rowed back toward the riverbank, they discussed the discoveries they had made. Aaron spoke of the murals, the golden artifacts, and the stone tablets. Mira described the carvings, the secret passages, and the wisdom of the kings. Both knew that their adventure was far from over. There were still mysteries to uncover, but they had survived the river's test and seen the heart of the tomb. When they reached the riverbank, they climbed out of the boat and pulled it to safety. Their clothes were wet, their hands and feet tired, but their spirits were high. Aaron looked at Mira and smiled. "We did it. The tomb has shared its secrets with us, and we are alive to tell the story." Mira smiled back, feeling the same pride and relief. "We have to rest tonight. Tomorrow, we can begin planning how to study and document everything we found. The tomb holds more than we can imagine, and we need to prepare carefully for the next steps." They set up a small camp near the riverbank, making a fire and drying their clothes. The sound of the river was calming, and the night sky filled with stars. Aaron and Mira reflected on their adventure, realizing how much they had learned about the lost dynasty, the river, and themselves. The journey had tested their courage, intelligence, and determination, and they had passed out as they sat by the fire. Mira looked at Aaron. The river allowed us to see the tomb, but it also reminded us that history is powerful. We cannot rush, and we must respect what we find. Aaron nodded. Feeling a deep sense of connection to the past, we will share the knowledge, not just the treasure. The kings created the tomb to teach lessons, and we are lucky to learn them firsthand. That night, they slept under the stars, listening to the gentle flow of the lost river of kings. The river had tested them, guided them, and protected its secrets. Aaron and Mira dreamed of the kings, the hidden passages, and the treasures that awaited careful and respectful explorers. By morning, they were ready to continue their journey. The sunken tomb of the lost kings had revealed its heart, but it held more secrets yet to be discovered. Aaron and Mira knew that the river, the tomb, and the king's legacy would guide them forward, and they were prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. The adventure had tested their courage and patience, but it had also strengthened their friendship, determination, and respect for history. The river flowed silently, keeping its treasures hidden, but Aaron and Mira had proven themselves worthy of the journey so far. The morning sun rose over the village of Leora, painting the fields in soft gold. Aaron and Mira returned, tired but full of excitement. They had survived the hidden passages, explored the sunken tomb, and witnessed the secrets of the lost dynasty. Their journey had tested their courage, intelligence, and patience, and now they carried with them knowledge that had been hidden beneath the lost river of kings. For centuries, as they walked through the village, the villagers noticed them immediately. Aaron and Mira's clothes were still damp, and their faces showed signs of exhaustion, but their eyes sparkled with stories waiting to be told. Children ran ahead to greet them, and elders looked on with curiosity. "We have returned," Aaron said proudly, holding the manuscript carefully. "We have seen the tomb of the lost kings, and we have documented their history, wisdom, and treasures. The river allowed us to discover it, and we respected its lessons." Mira smiled. "The kings preserved their knowledge and artifacts for centuries. We have learned from them, and now it is our responsibility to share their story carefully, not for greed, but for history and learning." The villagers gathered around, eager to hear more. Aaron and Mira spoke of the journey to the river, the forest they had crossed, the cliffs and valleys, and the hidden entrance beneath the water. They described the murals, golden artifacts, and carvings of the kings, emphasizing the lessons of patience, respect, and courage. The scholars in the village were amazed. They studied the maps, manuscripts, and notes that Mira had made, comparing them with ancient records they had preserved. Aaron and Mira's discovery connected pieces of history that had been lost for centuries, and soon, the village became a center for learning about the lost dynasty. Over the following weeks, Aaron and Mira organized careful expeditions back to the river. They documented every carving, every artifact, and every symbol. They created detailed maps of the hidden passages and chambers, ensuring that the knowledge would be preserved without disturbing the tomb's treasures. Their work was slow and meticulous, but they understood that the kings had designed the tomb to protect history, not just objects. Word of their discoveries spread beyond Leora. Scholars and historians from nearby towns visited, eager to study the tomb's secrets. Aaron and Mira guided them, sharing the story of the river, the hidden passage, and the Chamber of Kings. Everyone who visited learned the same lesson the explorers had learned. The tomb was not just about gold or jewels, but about history, wisdom, and respect for the past. One evening, as the sun set over the river, Aaron and Mira sat by the river bank. The water flowed quietly, shimmering with reflections of the trees and sky. The river had guided them, tested them, and protected the tomb. They felt a deep connection to the lost dynasty, as if the kings themselves were watching, approving of their careful and respectful exploration. "The river and the tomb have changed us," Aaron said. "We have seen history preserved in its purest form. The kings trusted us with their secrets, and we honored that trust." Mira nodded. "And the adventure has shown us more than just history. It has shown us courage, patience, and the importance of working together. We face dangers and challenges, but we learn to rely on each other. That is a treasure in itself. As the days passed, Aaron and Mira continued to study and document the tomb. They made copies of scrolls, recorded murals, and carefully mapped the chambers. They shared the knowledge with scholars while keeping the location of the hidden entrance secret, ensuring that the tomb would remain protected. Their work became a bridge between the present and the past, connecting generations through history. The villagers of Leora were proud of the young explorers. Children listened to stories of the tomb, imagining kings, hidden passages, and the river that protected its secrets. Elders spoke of the bravery and intelligence of Aaron and Mira, inspiring everyone to value learning and respect history. One afternoon, as Aaron and Mira prepared to return to the river for another study, they paused on the riverbank. The lost river of kings flowed silently, its waters holding the tomb beneath. The river had revealed its secrets to those who were worthy, and Aaron and Mira had proven themselves. This river has taught us so much, Aaron said. It is not just water. It is history, wisdom, and patience. We must continue to respect it, and one day, others may learn from it as we have. Mira smiled, looking at the gentle flow of the river, and we will continue to document and preserve the king's legacy. The tomb is not just a place of the past, it is a treasure for the future. Their journey had begun as a simple quest for discovery, but it had become something far greater. They had uncovered history, learned lessons of courage and respect, and created a path for future explorers and scholars. The sunken tomb of the lost kings was no longer just a legend. It was a preserved legacy, a story of wisdom hidden beneath the river for generations to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Aaron and Mira walked back to the village. Carrying their manuscripts, maps, and notes, the river flowed silently. Behind them, hiding its treasures, waiting for future adventurers who would respect its lessons. The villagers of Leora would remember this adventure for generations. The story of the sunken tomb of the lost kings became a tale of courage, patience, and respect for history. Aaron and Mira had discovered the tomb, survived its challenges, and ensured that the king's wisdom would not be lost again. And so, the sunken tomb of the lost kings remained beneath the river, its secrets safe, its lessons clear, and its legacy preserved. The river continued to flow, carrying with it the stories of kings, explorers, and the enduring power of history. Aaron and Mira, having completed their journey, knew that their adventure had changed them forever. They had not only discovered treasures and history, but they had also discovered themselves, their courage, intelligence, and dedication to preserving the past. The river whispered its quiet approval. The tomb rested peacefully beneath its waters, and history was safe in the hands of those who valued it. The adventure had ended, but the legacy of the lost kings would continue, guiding future generations with lessons of wisdom, patience, and respect.